Hey everybody, welcome to Hub. I'm glad you're here today. Before we talk about today's message, I just want to remind you that this coming Thursday, if you're in the Vancouver area, if you're anywhere around and you'd like to come and be a part of a gathering of sorts with people, we're having our team night. We're having it at Kitts Beach at 7 p.m. Now everyone will be on their own kind of blanket and their own space with the people they came with, bringing their own food and whatever it might be, but it's a great opportunity to at least be together. And in that time, we're actually going to be seeing some people be baptized in water. And so maybe that's you and you're saying, I've always wanted to take that step of faith. Well, this would be your opportunity. Now, if you don't want to be there, if you're unable to be there, if you're vulnerable to COVID-19, you have other commitments, please, by no means do we want you to feel like there's any sort of FOMO. By no means do we want you to feel like, I should go even though I'm not feeling it. Please stay home, be with your family, and if you'd like to, we would even FaceTime you in if you want to cheer for some people as they're getting baptized. Talk to the people in your hub, you can organize that and settle that. So today, I want to have an interesting discussion, and I hope this facilitates that type of a conversation for you in your hub. On Sunday, I referenced these sayings. There's 30 sayings that Solomon gives, 30 different sayings, and I thought one of the greatest things we could do in our hub is read through these sayings, and then everyone just share one that stands out to you and share why that's the case. I think it would be an incredible conversation. And so the primary thing I want to share today is just around that, these interesting sayings that are applicable in different seasons of your life. It's amazing some of the things that are so applicable right now will not be later, and vice versa. Some of the most important lessons of wisdom are not even to be applied right now. It's for a later date. And so why not share with one another and encourage one another in that. In order to do that, you're going to need some time to read these 30 sayings. You can find them in the book of Proverbs, starting at chapter 22, verse 17. And like it says here in my Bible, it's just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 30, which is halfway through Proverbs 26. So take a little bit of time and do that together. It's going to be a great time to hear from one another. I wouldn't even say this is necessarily my favorite, but it is one that's always been pretty compelling to me, is saying number 21. Proverbs 24 in verse 3 says this: by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established, and through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasure. You know, I think you're building something incredible in your life. I think all of our lives are something special, something significant, something unique, and God desires and has designed you and I to have rare and beautiful things in our life, rare and beautiful blessings, to understand the giftings He's put in our life, to understand the joys of the world around us. I love in the Bible it says this, that God has created all things for our enjoyment. What a beautiful thought that God is really truly on our side that way. But we understand those things and we experience those things not just by hoarding. We understand and experience those things not just by making them our goal. In fact, we understand and experience the rare and beautiful things of life by establishing wisdom. I love what it says, that it builds our house, it establishes our house, and it fills our house. In other words, wisdom is not just what gets this journey started and then we graduate past wisdom into something else. We will always continually need to grow in wisdom. So maybe tonight you feel like I'm already a wise person. Well, guess what? There's a long way to go. Maybe today you feel like I have not started well with a foundation of wisdom. Good news, you're not done building yet. You're not done establishing yet. So begin to apply some wisdom right now. I also love in these sayings, saying number 27, which says this in Proverbs 24 and 16. It says, though the righteous fall down 7 times, they rise again. I just want to encourage you. Maybe you feel like you've faltered. Maybe you feel like you've tripped up or you've gotten stuck in some sort of a pattern. Right now, you just need to know that your righteousness is not linked to your ability to stay standing. It's not linked to your ability to never make a mistake. Your righteousness is about having the resiliency and the grace and the courage to get back up and to go after that thing again, to get back up and to keep on moving forward. And the only way you can really do that is by God's help. And that's why righteousness that is accounted on our behalf is not just effort-based. In fact, it has nothing to do with perfection or pedigree or what we've learned. It really truly has to do with us receiving that grace that Jesus gives. So I want to encourage you right now, if you feel like you're in a fallen state, get back up. We're there to encourage you. We're there to help you. We're there to come alongside you. So share these thoughts together, okay? Share these sayings together. Encourage one another in them. The purpose of Hub is truly not just to listen to a speech. It's not just to listen to a monologue. And if you're meeting on Zoom right now, it's not just to lock in on that little screen in the corner while someone else talks. It is to engage. It is to share. So take some time and do that. For some of you, it might be your first time sharing a thought from Scripture. You got this. It's going to be great. Now, the one other thing I wanted to share today that I really think is going to maybe help kind of frame this desire to grow in wisdom, to maybe frame even our mentality as we get close to August now, and we're about to read right through Proverbs again and be consistent in putting these things into practice. I want to ask us maybe just two questions around what we're doing with this time, like what we're doing in this season. I'm tired of talking about COVID-19. I'm sure you are tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of using words like lockdown and quarantine and distancing, all that stuff. And it's kind of easy to just get used to this as this new normal, and we don't even think of it as a season anymore. But it really is a season. It will come to an end. It had a beginning that we didn't anticipate coming, but it has an end we can really count on. That end will come, and I think you and I need to consider, what have we done with this time? What have we done in this season? And so I want to ask you maybe two different questions. One is what are you doing? And then two, why are you doing it? Let me frame those questions with these thoughts. What are you doing? In Proverbs chapter 20, in verse 4, it says this: sluggards do not plow in season, so at harvest time they look, but they find nothing. What a graphic picture. A lazy person doesn't do what they need to do in the right timing, and so they can anticipate no harvest at the end. The thing about plowing is it's not fun. The thing about plowing is it's just work. It's preparation. Plowing is literally digging up hard ground so that it's more ready to grow. But if we're not willing to do the hard work now, we won't reap the harvest later. And so what are you doing in this season? Another way to put that very same question is this. Look at this. Proverbs chapter 20, later in that same passage, verse 29, it says this: the glory of a young man is his strength. Gray hair is the splendor of the old. I love that picture because it's saying this, that there is a certain time and season for different things. If you're young, it's your time to exert your strength. And if you're old, it's your time perhaps to celebrate some of what you've come through. Now, I feel like maybe I'm in a little bit of a in-between in these two sayings, because if you can tell on camera, I'm not sure, there's a little more splendor coming in the sides here, especially as COVID-19 continues and we're in lockdown. And at the same time, I feel like I still got strength for some stuff. I got that young and that old, and the same would be true in your life as well. There's certain areas where it's time right now to put your best strength forward, and there's other areas of your life it's time to enjoy the fact that you've learned the hard lessons already. So simply put, what are you doing in this time? Like, what is the thing you're focusing on? What's the hard thing that is taking your strength that later on you can celebrate with some gray hair? What's the hard thing right now that's taking strength, like plowing, that later on you can celebrate with harvest? I really want to see each one of us emerge from this setback better for it. Emerge from this lockdown, different, weird time, having actually grown in strength. So what are you doing in this season? And then the next question I want to ask that's really quite similar is this: why are you doing it? Like, why are you doing what you're doing in this season? I hope future harvest is your goal. I hope development of character is your goal. I hope that becoming the person God has called you to be is your goal. Because here's what it says in Proverbs 20 in verse 5. It says, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. In just the very next chapter, it says this, chapter 21 and verse 2, a person may think their own ways are right, but the Lord weighs their heart. Here's what it means: that you and I have a complex series of motivations behind doing the things that we do. Sometimes the things that we do are so that we get noticed for it. Sometimes the things that we do are to not be like someone else. Sometimes the things we do are because we want temporary pleasure, whatever it might be. And so it says this, that our desires, our complex sequence of motivations are like a deep well. And the insightful person digs deep and really understands, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And in fact, each one of us thinks we have a very good reason to do what we do. We have a very justifiable reason to do what we do. It makes perfect sense to us, but it's God who weighs those out. So I want to encourage you today. Maybe you could bring to the surface some of those motivations. Bring up to the surface and say, I think here's why I'm most motivated in what I'm doing right now. Maybe that serious motivation is fear. Perhaps that serious motivation is a sense of guilt. You're running from something. Maybe it's a competitive nature. You're just trying to be better than someone else. Maybe it's all well intended, but you're kind of missing that moment where you need the grace of God. Whatever it might be, perhaps you dig up that motive and you say, honestly, I've never been more excited about the purity of my motives. But then bring that up and then let God weigh it out for you and say, is this really the reason I want to be doing what I am doing? So 3 things. We're going to share our favorite saying. I think that's going to be the most fun part. But then I want you to ask yourself, what am I doing in this season? What am I exerting strength in now that'll bring harvest later? What am I exerting strength in now that'll actually be, some splendored white hair later? And then lastly, why am I doing the things that I do? What are the deep-seated motivations? Draw those to the surface and let God weigh them out. And if something needs to change, guess what? We get to change it. We get to lay it before God's feet and say, I fell in that one. I stumbled in that one. But the righteous person doesn't stay down. They get back up. I love you so much. For many of you, I'm going to see you next week at Kids Beach. For others of you, maybe on someone's FaceTime screen, you're going to come and celebrate in our baptism. For all of us, I hope to see you this coming week at Church at Home. And let's keep on growing in grace and growing in wisdom together. This coming week, man, we're starting at Proverbs 1 all over again. It's going to be so good. I love you.